Hi, my name is Joseph Tracy, which you should know by now. Um, I'm actually one of the three parts of the Trinity, which is going to sound so crazy, but you already know that. I believe you already all know that, and I'll get into that. What I'm going to do now is probably create, it's going to be about an hour, maybe a little bit longer. I did a 10-page outline, wanted to cover everything. Then I reviewed everything, so I'm not pausing, and I wanted to make sure I covered everything in this presentation, and this can be my last presentation. After this, I'm just I'm not going to be posting anymore. Even if people call me or say stuff or something crazy happens, it's all over. All I'm going to do is produce music. Hopefully, I get one of my friends let me borrow my cell phone because the last music I did wasn't that good. It was okay, but I'm 50 times better than that because when you have all the energy I have and you can listen to the music and get fired up, it's otherworldly. And I want to do a rap song, you know what I mean? I'm unbelievable at rapping, so hopefully I could do that later tonight when a friend comes over. But I don't want to wait. I don't want the video to get too large and then I can't do it. So let me get into this. Okay, in this presentation, I'm going to be looking at my notes a lot, so bear with me if I lose eye contact. I'm not going to talk about how my entire family and all my close friends were mafia, who didn't try to prevent me from being tortured in nursing homes, which I was for nearly 2 years before spending every waking second, literally 19 hours a day, for 550 straight days, a year and a half, trying to give them and everyone a better life. And not only did not one person say thanks for doing this, after they all let me be tortured in the nursing homes when I was doing it, they let the same thing happen again as I am now in my fifth abusive nursing home with only one person that will pick up the phone when I call. So I don't have a family. You know, all my friends, my best friend who would stay on the phone 2 hours a night, he was doing absolutely despicable things to me. He was just so smart. He just kept it undercover, and I don't want to get into particulars of him or really how I figured this stuff out. Or that's not what this is about. This is about explaining our existence and hopefully giving people, motivating them. You know what I mean? I think we all get saved, but just in case we don't, I think it's in your best interest to try to change your ways if we're in control of our actions, which I don't believe we are, but the right way to think is that we are, so we make the best decisions. But I'll get into all this in presentation. I'm not going to talk about the countless miracles that have happened. Well, actually, I am going to talk about some of them. And some that I actually produce now, which is my singing, where you'll see that later. I have a weird voice, and I used to never sing in my life. And even when I started off doing this 6 months ago, I thought I was good, and I was absolutely horrible. And I just got practice at it, just more energy. The better I felt, the more energy, and then started to learn to listen to the music and not listen with both headphones in, and learn how to try to accentuate each word and when I'm doing songs. And see, I'm a ranter, so I'm not even reading from the notes. I'm just ad-libbing, but maybe it's going to take 2 hours. I'm already within 3 minutes. So I feel like I'm as good as better than all the artists, which is crazy because it's like I rap better or as good, and then I do girl voices, guy voices. There's never been anyone like me in terms of the singing. I'm not going to talk about how corrupt the system is and all the awful things it did to me. If you don't believe me, I've actually put up 2 recent posts about how crazy it is. There was like 5 things done to me in one day just to get my hopes up and to let me down. Get my hopes up with people saying that you got to come in, and then, oh no, I don't know who gave you that message, or the hospital saying, oh, we should have told you to come in a stretcher, or the bank saying, oh, you deposited a check yesterday. No, I deposited 2 days ago. Every single entity or government entity that I deal with deals with that. And this is small things. I was getting shot up with schizophrenic medicine. In 2.5 months, they kept me in the hospital when all I needed was a ride to get my check cashed to get into a hotel. All my benefits lapsed, and then they were trying to get me back in a nursing home. The psychiatrist is secretly failing me when he's telling me I passed, and he's saying, I think other people want you to get the shot, because if I didn't do that, then it would have been against, I wouldn't be able to make good decisions. And instead of saying, get me out of the hospital, put me on the street, which is what I was saying, they would have put me in the nursing home, which I was deathly afraid of, which is where I'm back now because people couldn't give me $20 when I worked 9,900 hours and I'll get into that. I'm the best psychologist because I figured out everyone's problems or solved the solution to get whatever everyone wants. Everyone wants to get smarter, stronger, fearless, funnier, happier, and I showed them how to do it. You work every waking second, and I explained, the things to do to get into heaven. If we are in control of our actions, which I don't believe we are, but I'll get into all that. And it's just you don't hurt people. You know what I mean? It's You don't have to help people because some people are incapable of doing that. You just can't hurt people. Um, and so I'm not going to talk about. I'm going to repeat myself here because I started ad-libbing. I'm not going to talk about how corrupt the system is and all the awful things it did to me, the established do to me on a nearly daily basis, including the past mental and physical torture medical establishments put on me. And my head went off the screen. Yeah, I got stuck in the mental wards when I was having religious experiences. My family was secretly putting me, not my family, my mother, but my father went along with it. And by the end of it, there was schizophrenic medicine and suicidal for 5 years from the medicine. And cops, those same abusive cops, slammed my head off the cop car and then pulling the taser on me 2 years later when I was having a religious experience again. And he pulled the taser when I was just standing and fine. I said, I'm not going with you. And he goes, oh no? And he pulls the taser and I go, huh. And I had no fear at that point because I'm so manic because I wasn't sleeping because everything was surreal. And I'll explain why it was surreal and what happened. It's just energy in your brain, just converting from being so angry to being, I'm going to be better than my parents, going to write books, I'm so happy, I'm moving out of the house. And every time that happened, I would I would enter into surreal existence. So what I mean by that is I would think about a kid I didn't see for 15 years, and then I would stop at the convenience store and see the kid. And after the first time this happened, the second and third time it happened, I started to get religious signs. Or I was smoking a cigarette and started to smell like church incense when I met this guy at the casino at 2 in the morning. I would go to the casino on the right because I could smoke cigarettes there, and I stayed with this guy till 9 in the morning. He looked like Moses. He was like 65. He looked like he was 45. He had nothing to do with the government. He'd ride a bike and eat nuts, and he was blowing my mind, this guy, about how corrupt the world was, and I had no idea. And I just took it a step further, where I'm going to get into all the corruption of why it's a purgatory, but that doesn't prove it's a purgatory until you set up specific examples, which I'll get into, of how either decision you make inflicts pain, and you have to choose between the less of the two wrong decisions. That proves it's a purgatory. Same thing with proving Christianity. It's like I have a million miracles and this, that. It didn't prove anything until it's so simple. I proved Christianity because in order to be creation, in order to have things of creation, they had to be created by a creator. That proves it. So everyone should know there's a creator or creators. But we shouldn't call the creator God, because I'm actually going through all this stuff that I went through. It's going to be a pain in the butt because I'm going to look at the sheets and I have to be like, oh no, I talked about this. But in order for their, no, I'm losing my train of thought. Oh yeah, we shouldn't be calling the creator God because some people call the creator Allah and Tao and, oh, what's the big deal? We have different names for the creator. Oh no, it's a real big deal because we're so crazy. All our creators represent the same thing, love and sacrifice. But since we disagree on small details of some religion believes Muhammad is better than Jesus, and some religion believes Allah is creator, we kill billions of people. So really how it breaks down is, if you think about it, billions of people are dead because we disagree on spelling. So some people use a T-A-O and an A, and other religions use a couple L's and an A and an H and an A. And we use G-O-D, and because of we don't agree on the spelling of our creator, which if we just said creator, I guess there wouldn't be billions of people dead. And it just shows you how insane we all are. And people say, oh, I'm not insane. Well, sure you are, because in terms of insanity, being rational is making every right decision. To be rational is be perfect, and if you're not perfect, we're irrational. And if you're irrational, it's just a synonym for insane. And then I'll get into really, if you're hurting other people and yourself and you don't realize it, that's a true definition of insanity. And that's what I was doing my whole life, and that's pretty much what everyone does their whole life. When we assume that we're in control of our actions, as crazy as that sounds, because there are going to be situations where the other person's not in control of their actions, and we don't know that, and we're going to assume intent. And I proved that when I was on schizophrenic medicine, and pretty much when I turned me into an asshole because it turned me suicidal. That I don't have the disease of schizophrenia. I'm not even diagnosed with it anymore, and it's not something that goes away. But people who didn't know that, just were like, that's not Tracy, he changed, and screw him, and they all outcasted me because they assumed intent when it wasn't. And it doesn't have to be a drug. People say, oh, well, you were on a drug, so that's just a different situation. No. Someone can get terrible news, and it could change their demeanor and make them act completely out of character. And it could even not be like a day. It could be for a while. Maybe they don't tell you what the news that they got that made them turn into this person. And you just think, oh, my God, he just changed. What's wrong with him? And I wanted to say something else, but I forgot what it was. All right, well, I'm talking about everything that I wrote. but I'm going to get into how this all works. All right, so here's the beginning of it. We started off as equal babies, right? And we're placed into an unequal environment where we have different parents. Some have the best parents who, nurture and, will feed the baby every certain times and walk the baby. And there's some parents who are drug addicts they don't want the kid. Some people just have kids just for money, so they just neglect the kid and they don't feed the kid. And we don't know how the brain works. And that's what I wanted to say the last time is we only have 37% of a brain, so we shouldn't be assuming intent because no one knows how the brain works. So, and this gets back into like with parents, you don't know what could have happened to the baby. The baby could have got not eaten. They could hit the baby, and then all of a sudden the person they're just taught as a little kid just to hate. So that school shooter that we see that shoots at the school, they might be dealing with so much pain that it's impossible for them not to release the pain. And to release the pain, they have to hurt other people. And that's going to get back into, I'm going to get into where if people that are hurt other people, it's actually going to prove that wrongful actions are out of our control, which I'm going to show you by showing how we're introduced to pain because we're in a temporary place of suffering where either decision we make inflicts pain. Like I said, that's how I prove we're in a purgatory, because I'm going to show you situations where either decision you make inflicts pain. And I'll give you a couple of them right now because I'm just going to do this on the fly because it's easier doing it this way. I'm going to look at the sheets, but I'm going to pretty much cover everything. Here's a very simple one. I should never be pointing out someone else's mistake, right? I make mistakes. That makes me a hypocrite. But if someone makes a mistake, you got to point it out, especially if it's a big mistake. But that's wrong because how can I point out mistakes when I make mistakes? What about people? You can never ever, or you should never ever put someone in jail for the rest of their life if they didn't do it, or even worse, kill someone. What if someone's innocent and you're going to kill them? Oops, we had the wrong guy. That can't happen. Okay, so then what's the alternative? We're just not going to have jails and let dangerous criminals walk the street? Can't have that either. So then what's the right decision? I guess it is to wrongfully accuse and kill some people that aren't guilty. Another example of a purgatory. Here's a real good example. I was never racist, but when I was in college, as a joke, like we only hung out with white kids, pretty much. And we would use the N-word just to be funny, or my friends did. So like it was just, and people would start crying, laughing, just like using it to be goofy. And I started doing it, and I was at my friend's house in D.C., and I freaked myself out, and I said, "These N-word," and there was a black guy there. Okay, so let's pretend that black guy is one of my friends, or he doesn't have to be a friend. Let's say I only have one friend. I really did. Now I have no friends. Well, one sort of friend, but he's for the mafia, and I don't trust him at all. But I'll get into that, how crazy my situation is. Let's say I had one friend, and he knew the story where I used the N-word, and I have a caretaker, and I need the caretaker, and he's black. And the caretaker gives him a funny look, and he calls him the N-word. And the caretaker gets furious, and he's about to leave, and I need the caretaker. I can't have without the caretaker because, I just shit myself or whatever. I can't have him leave. So, and my friend should have never did that. Like, the guy he knew. I don't think he gave me a dirty look, but whatever. He should never be doing that. So I told my friend, like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you can't be using that language. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, yelling at him. He gets so angry at me. He says, "You hypocrite. You did the same thing. Now you're going to yell at me. You use the N-word. And now my only friend is gone." Well, what was I supposed to do? Was I not supposed to say something to him because I said the word? I have to say something to him because my caretaker was the wrong thing to do. I made the wrong mistake. I made the wrong mistake. I made the mistake and I corrected it. So if he's making a mistake, I have to correct it because, it's the wrong thing to do, especially something like that. But now, because of it, I lost my only friend. Now let's even take it a little step further. Let's take it a step further and say, like, now that I have no one in my life, I get suicidal and I kill myself. And this is how crazy this situation is in this world we live in. So those are just examples of further. I ran into so many examples where either decision is wrong and you have to choose the less of two wrongs. Another one is my whole thing that I did was when I wrote 19 Hours a Day was I gave people an open look into my mind. So I was admitting the most embarrassing things that I held on to my whole life. I had a bathroom phobia as a little kid. I think my dad tried to instill, like, real men used a urinal as a little kid, and I couldn't do it because I got scared and nervous, and I kept the whole phobia my entire life. This is another reason my whole family was mafia, and I was such a good kid. Not a good kid. I loved my mom so much that I ran away in grade school and kindergarten back home. So they knew they couldn't convert me to mafia, so they were trying to kill my whole life. I'd be like, what do you mean they're trying to kill you? If they're going to try to kill you, that would kill you. You're going to find out that that's not true either, because I proved that I'm 1/3 of the Trinity, which you're going to see it. Well, I think you already all know that, which I'll explain that too, how I know that you all know. But I have so many miracles that I proved, and I've done so many insane things. But um, I went 18 straight days leaving an abusive nursing home when I was about to be discharged, and I was going to report their bad behavior. That I went 18 straight days without an ounce of water. I would throw up 20 times a day. They were trying to poison me, and if you say, oh, why would it, they would never do that? Oh, well, wait till you hear what the nursing home said to me. Pulmonary embolisms, not washing me for 7 months, 4 blood infections. No one from my family would call me. I'll